In episode 4, it is the 4th of July on Cousins, which is a really big deal. But it's also a big deal this year because it's supposed to be when all the dads are coming back. Unfortunately, for some of the kids, they're not looking forward to that. Belly is certainly not looking forward to meeting her dad's new girlfriend. Steven can't quite figure it out why their mom even invited her in the first place. And Conrad is definitely not looking forward to his dad showing up. Conrad, though, gets really good news early on when Susanna tells everybody that their dad is not coming. He got held up in London for work. And Jeremiah is disappointed, but Conrad is pumped. His entire mood changes. He goes from emo Conrad to happy Conrad. He starts helping Belly make the bed in the guest room, and Belly's crush quickly returns. Later in the day, Belly's dad arrives in Cousins with his girlfriend Victoria, who is a little bit younger than him. She's 27, she's in grad school. She seems nice enough, but Belly doesn't really want to give her all that much of a chance. The boys, though, want to give her a chance because she's attractive. I guess. She's not really my type, but she's not ugly at all. So at the very least, they want to give Belly's dad, Adam, a high five because that's cool. But the fact that Adam has rebounded with such a younger girl does make Laurel a little uncomfortable. It's hard not to compare yourself to the replacement. Susanna, though, being a really good friend, tries to remind her that Laurel is always going to be better than whoever this new girl is. But Victoria is nothing but nice when she arrives. She's very, very nice, very complimentary, very cordial, very appreciative for being invited. After the initial hellos and pleasantries, they get ready for the party that they're going to have. It's not just going to be them. The debutante girls are also invited over. So you've got Nicole, you've got Gigi, you've got Cam, and you've also got Shayla. And this is going to be the first opportunity for the parents to meet Shayla, i.e., for Laurel to approve of Shayla. And boy, does she, because Shayla conducts herself wonderfully. When Shayla walks out of earshot after initially meeting Steven's parents, Laurel says, I like her. She's confident. She knows who she is. I'm surprised a girl like that would even want a Deb. And while Shayla wasn't in earshot of that compliment, Belly was in earshot of it and takes offense to it. So when Adam asks Belly, tell me about this Deb ball, Belly says, well, apparently it's for girls like me, girls who don't know who they are. And Laurel quickly apologizes because she didn't mean it like that. But before the situation gets out of hand, Victoria asks Belly if she can show her where the bathroom is, so they head inside. Once Victoria is done going to the bathroom, though, she starts whipping up some pomegranate margaritas. She does so in front of Belly and Jeremiah. She's telling them how she got the recipe. And when they ask her, hey, can we have some? She asks, well, are your parents cool with that? And of course they lie and say yes. And when they try the pomegranate margarita, they are in love. When Victoria leaves, they start whipping up some of their own. And at this point, Conrad has come in, so he's helping out. While they're blending them up, Conrad says, you know what I miss? How Laurel would just put Dad in his place. You know, she'd walk in and she'd say, Adam. But then they literally hear Laurel say, Adam, because Conrad and everybody was unaware that their dad actually is showing up for the 4th. And Conrad's mood once again changes back to emo Conrad. Conrad just walks away. But Conrad is not the only one who is shocked and doesn't really want to see Adam too much. The other person is Susanna, who gives off a very weird vibe when she sees Adam in her kitchen. She tries to play it off like it's okay, but you can tell she's a little bit shook. When everybody leaves the kitchen, she demands to know what he's doing there, and he says, well, Laurel called me and said, get your ass here? So I did. But he realizes very, very quickly that Susanna had no idea Laurel was doing that. Now that he's here, though, he's not going to leave. Susanna doesn't want to ruin the 4th for the kids, so she says, well, just make the best of it. While the adults do try to make the best of the awkward situation that they find themselves in, all the teenagers head to the beach with Belly's pomegranate margaritas, and they start drinking heavily. Everybody except Cam. Cam doesn't drink. It doesn't really take too long for most of the kids to end up drunk. But they all seem like a happy drunk, including Belly, who is sloshed. But after about an hour, everybody heads back to the house. And when they do, the awkwardness between Conrad and his dad is still evident. I mean, it is very apparent to anybody that watches the two interact with each other. And it just seems like it's very much a one-way street. Adam, the dad, trying to make inroads with Conrad, and Conrad just blowing him off every step of the way. It actually gets to the point where Jeremiah has to pull Conrad aside and say, look, whatever your beef is with Dad, squash it. Because he's clearly trying and you're clearly being a dick. Meanwhile, the girls were hanging out on the dock, just gossiping, talking about their different love life situations. Nicole still isn't really sure that Conrad is into her. He kind of gives off some mixed signals. And then drunk Belly ruins everything. A compliment about Belly's attire goes into Taylor, and then goes into how Taylor is very much like Shayla, and how it makes sense that the two would crush on the same boy in the same summer. And Shayla's kind of confused about what that comment would mean, and Belly says, look, what happened between those two, it didn't mean anything. He's really into you. So drunk Belly's big mouth just possibly ruined her brother's blossoming relationship. Suddenly, Shayla doesn't really feel like staying, and drunk Belly can't quite figure out why. But as Gigi, Shayla, and Nicole are leaving, Steven notices. He runs out to see why exactly they're leaving, and that gives Shayla a one-on-one opportunity to tell Steven that she knows that Steven and Taylor hooked up, and honestly, it's fine, because her and Steven weren't exclusive anyway. And Steven doesn't really know how to feel about that. Obviously, he's disappointed in his actions, but he's also disappointed in her response. Like, their relationship didn't mean anything. Especially when she says, we're just having fun, right? Nothing serious? Because he wants it to be serious. So as the girls get in the Uber, he's standing there pretty perplexed. Somehow, even after all of this, drunk Belly continues to walk around with 2 giant margaritas and no one stopping her. She stumbles up on Conrad, who's in the outdoor shower trying to clean up, and she is liking what she sees. She starts hitting on Conrad, and it's so evident that Conrad actually asks her, how many of those margaritas have you had? But she brushes the question aside and asks, did you buy me that infinity necklace for my birthday? And he doesn't say anything. He's shocked that she knows about it. And she starts laughing, saying, I knew it. I knew you bought it for me for my birthday. But he just tells her to get the hell out of there and let him finish up his shower. Once she does get back inside, finally, an adult notices that 16-year-old Belly is walking around like she's a server at Chili's. Her mom asks her, who told you could have a margarita? And Belly throws Victoria right under the bus. Belly, though, shows how drunk she truly is when Susanna grabs a cake to bring outside for the party, and Belly trips on the steps, knocks Susanna over, the cake is ruined, and so is her mother's cake stand. At that point, the adults have to take Belly inside to sober up a little bit and lay down. But Belly being drunk is kind of secondary to Susanna's reaction once she did fall. Because Adam came over to help her out, but she was very dismissive of any help whatsoever from Adam. Laurel, knowing that she messed up at this point by even inviting Adam, has to find out what's going on. So she corners her best friend in one of the bedrooms and says, all right, spill it. What's the deal between you and Adam? And initially, Susanna doesn't really want to answer her questions, but finally she reveals that Adam cheated on her 3 years ago when she was initially going through chemo with his secretary. Laurel can't figure out why Susanna didn't tell her in the first place, and Susanna says, because you would have told me to leave him. And at the time, I didn't want to, but now I do. If I'm dying, I don't want that guy by my side. This starts a little bit of a fight between the two, because Laurel feels like Susanna's being very short-sighted. She's about to die. She's going to have doctor's appointments. She's going to be frail. And she's going to be doing all of this alone. While trying to take care of 2 boys? She feels like Susanna should welcome Adam's overtures. But Susanna just can't believe that this is Laurel's reaction. Then again, she can believe it. Because as she says to Laurel, you always felt like you knew what was right for me. And when Laurel says, I'm going to have to be the one to clean all this up, Susanna very calmly says, well, nothing will make you happier. To which Laurel gives a big F you and walks out of the room. Laurel is so upset by this conversation that she just has to get out of the house. She heads to the closest bar, she starts drinking, and as it turns out, she's not the most famous writer in the bar. Yeah, Cleveland Castillo also decides to visit that bar. Since misery kind of loves company, the two start drinking together, they start talking about their profession. One thing leads to another, and they end up banging in a Honda Accord. While Laurel was trying to get drunk and railed by Cousin's version of Ernest Hemingway, Conrad was back at the house and he decided to heed the advice of his brother and give his dad a little bit of a chance. But when he walks up to his dad to talk to him, his dad just starts going in on him. Because Conrad's the oldest kid, and he's disappointed that Conrad wasn't looking out for Belly. And the truth is, the situation with Belly isn't Conrad's fault. He had no idea she was drinking that much. So Conrad just shakes his head and says, I don't know why, but I thought I could talk to you, and walks off. This is kind of the final straw for Adam. He decides to start packing up his bags, and he leaves later that night. Yeah, this has been a bad day for both romantic and personal relationships. Everybody not named Cleveland Castillo has been going through something bad. But Steven isn't willing to just let his possible relationship go by the wayside. He decides to do something about it. He heads to Shyla's house and he finds her outside. And he says, look, I don't want to be just a fling. Look, I messed up, but I don't want to be with anybody else. And Shayla feels the exact same way. So at least one relationship is proverbially sobering up. So is Belly. Her dad comes in and he doesn't criticize her at all for getting drunk. He's been there before. They start talking about the relationship between her dad and her mom. And now her dad is always going to love her mom. It's just they grew apart in separate ways. And that has Belly asking, well, where is mom right now? And he says, Susanna and her got in a fight, but they're best friends. They'll patch it up. So Belly heads downstairs to grab a snack. And when she's eating it, her mom walks in with sex hair. And just like her dad, her mom doesn't criticize her for what she did. Everybody was 16 once. They start talking about relationships. And how do you know that you want to be with somebody? How do you know that you have fireworks for that person? And her mom says, you just kind of know. And Belly's asking because she still has feelings for Conrad. She walks outside, and Conrad is just sitting on the gazebo watching the fireworks, so she decides to join him. She feels like Conrad probably is mad at her, but he looks at her and says, who could ever hate you? She laughs, and then she lets Conrad know that she's pretty sure her mom just got laid. So they have a good chuckle about that. There's a little bit of an awkward pause, and then Conrad says, Belly, about the necklace. I did get it for you, and I don't know why I didn't give it to you. I got embarrassed, I guess. And when Belly asks why, he says, Belly, you don't know the effect you have on people. And Belly says, I don't know what you're talking about. And Conrad tells her, oh, yes, you do. And then he leans in. But right before they kiss, a firework goes off and scares him. But that firework wasn't just a coincidence. That firework woke them up out of what they were going to do, but it was done so because Jeremiah walked outside, he saw what was about to happen, and he put a stop to it. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.